All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I look forward every year to Parshas Shmini for a certain reason, because this Dvar Torah that I'm going to share is really one of my favorites. I'd like to dedicate this to the memory of a big tzaddik who we just lost yesterday. Levaya was today, Getzel Rosenblatt. He was a very, very special man. He was Rosh Yeshiva of Kosher Torah, Talmud of Baron Kotler. Getzel was just a special, warm neshama. He for years and years, he had the yeshiva there. He was actually, it was a Balchuva yeshiva, and in the past, 15, 20 years, the yeshiva became more or less the minion factory. I don't know if one of his sons is going to take over, but it's just a very special medrash there in Queens, on Fly Place, and we're going to miss Reb Getzel. I'm happy I got to see him last year, just after Hanukkah. So about a year and almost a year and a half ago, not a year and a few months ago, a year and 3 months ago, I got to see him. I used to spend a lot of time there. I remember I would go to his house for Shabbos once or twice, but I davened there quite a bit. I remember he came to Shabbos by Rabbi Savitsky's on the Sunside. Rabbi Savitsky made Shabbos for us. And Getzel came. It was a big tzaddik, and I'm going to miss him very much. Just a warm, smiling, there's a lot of videos of him on Torah Anytime, so if you want to see Yaakov Getzel Rosenblatt. Anyway, Parshas Shmini is the wonderful Dvar Torah from the Kosher Levi. I love to share, and then I have my own little chiddush that I like to add to it. So Kosher Levi says, he asks, why is it says Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe v'al Aharon leimor lehem? The Lord spoke unto Moses and to Aaron in order to say unto them, Zois achai asher techel. These are the types of animals that you can eat. We're always taught there's nothing superfluous in Torah. What is this leimor lehem? That the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in order to say to them. But it already says he spoke to them. What is this in order to say unto them? So Kosher Levi explains like this. We have by Moshe Rabbeinu, by Moses, when he was a baby, Scripture tells us, it says in Chumash, Parshas Shmos, that his own mother nursed him. And so why was that? Medrash says that because they brought him to many Egyptian wet nurses and he refused to nurse from them, and so that's why his sister said, this is you want me to call a Hebrew woman and she'll nurse him, and it was his own mother. I guess it was soon enough. She didn't lose the milk yet, and he was nursed by his own mother. And why was that? It says that the mouth that was destined to have the Shekhinah, the divine presence, speak from it, couldn't have its sustenance from an impure source. It's an interesting thing, because the halacha is that a Jewish baby is allowed to nurse from a non-Jewish woman. So it's above and beyond the halacha to be strict, I guess, especially for Moshe Rabbeinu, But the thing is that there's a connection between prophecy and kashrus. And that's really the whole point of the Kedushas Levi is saying. That he brings Navi Joel, the prophet Joel says, your sons and daughters will prophesy, young men and old men will see visions. meaning that when Mashiach comes, we'll all be Nevi'im, we'll all be prophets. So then, therefore, that's why we have to keep kosher. I mean, it's not the only reason, but that's one of the benefits of keeping kosher, and that's what it means. These are the animals you may eat. The Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in order to say unto them, that to teach the method of one of the things that are prerequisite for prophecy is kosher food. And he brings there from the Ramban that it says, that when you eat a non-kosher animal, these animals, you are what you eat. So Nachmanides says, the animals that are not kosher tend to be cruel animals. So when we say, Lamor Lehem, it's the kind animals that we eat, and then that gives us a kind soul. If we would eat a cruel animal, it would make you a more cruel nature, because you are what you eat. Remember my friend Eitan Mordechai, he once said, the Tanya says a person should be so humble, he should look at himself like Shirayim, like he's worthless, like he's just leftovers. And he said maybe that's why we have to chap Shirayim, we have to eat Shirayim, leftovers from a tzaddik, because you are what you eat. And it's a humbling experience to be eating Shirayim, to be eating something leftovers. So essentially, part of the prophecies, you have to be a spiritual person, and a person who has, a nasty temperament, like a pig or a dog or an eagle or a vulture or something like that. These unclean animals that's going to become their nature. It's going to get into their blood. But if you're eating the nice, sweet, gentle animals, the sheep and the cows, they're sweet, gentle animals. You'll be sweet and gentle, and you'll be worthy for prophecy. The thing I want to add to that, though, is I know me, I didn't always keep kosher. So when Mashiach comes, I'm going to have to sit back while everybody else is receiving prophecy, and I'm going to have to stay outside because I didn't always keep kosher. Right? I've been keeping kosher now, Baruch Hashem, for over 20 years. But even so, what if by accident you eat something not kosher? The whole story took place a few years ago in Muncie, where they were selling non-kosher chickens and whatever. And I remember, I was like, well, is it that big of a deal? They didn't know any better. It's not their fault. They said, you don't understand. There were people, Holocaust survivors, who were moiser nefesh not to eat tarfas during the Holocaust, and yet in Muncie they think they're eating kosher, and they're not. It's a shreklich hazach. There were stories like that in Krakow in the old days, also in Kruka. So what hope do we have? If he accidentally ate something not kosher, and even the whole story with Moshe Rabbeinu was above and beyond the letter of the law, meaning it would seem to be a navi. It's not just that you should keep regular kosher. You should keep a strict level of kosher. Doesn't mean that you're obligated halachically to keep a strict level, but when it comes to this whole prophecy story, what do we? It would seem you need to be a little bit more strict, because we see here with the story of Moshe Rabbeinu, it was by the law there was no reason for him not to eat that. It's just so. The answer I have is like this: in the in the Zmiras Shalosh Shudas, we have says like this. It's not a zemer. It's a bakasha. It's a l'shem yichud. It says b'schus shlosh sudas elu, and the schus that we ate these 3 meals. That's why we call it shalosh shudas instead of sudas shlishis. Instead of calling it the 3rd meal, we call it 3 meals, because it's the culmination of the 3 meals So in the merit of these 3 meals, meaning the Friday night meal, the Shabbos day meal, and the Shalosh Shudas, Yisukin Masha Bekamti, Besudis Rishus Machilas Asuris. You should make a tikkun. You should rectify that which I've damaged with eating things that I didn't have to eat, not a mitzvah to eat, and with non-kosher food, forbidden foods. Meaning, the power of eating, obviously on Shabbos you got to eat kosher, and there is such an inyan on Shabbos, even a chumrah you might not keep all week long. Let's say someone, they eat pas palter the whole week long, on Shabbos they should only eat pas Yisrael. There's such a thing in Shulchan Aruch like that. Even ad kedei kach that from YU, from the modern Orthodox, from Herschel Schechter, he said that really, and he's a posek for the OU, he said really they should put on things that are pas palter, breads and pretzels and things, that it's kosher except on Shabbos. Because on Shabbos you're supposed to keep pas Yisrael. But it's hard to say like that because, again, the people, they live in a place where they can't get pas Yisrael. Right, you bake challahs for Shabbos, it's not so difficult, anywhere you can get, from Walmart, they have frozen dough, bread dough, with the OU on it. So then you bake it yourself, it's pas Yisrael. If you don't want to go through the whole thing of making dough, which isn't that hard, but you want pas Yisrael bread, it's not that hard, you want the chumrah, you want something more than OU, right? Maybe that you won't get everywhere, but at least the pas Yisrael, you'll have that. You can have that anywhere as long as you have your own kosher oven, So anyway, but you'd be surprised. There are a lot of things that are pas Yisrael. The Ezekiel bread is actually pas Yisrael all over the country. It doesn't taste that good, but and that's the whole point. It's not supposed to. The verse in Ezekiel is about making disgusting bread, but if you toast it, it's not that bad. The Ezekiel bread, and it's supposed to be very healthy. Although again, I don't know if that's this whole prophecy with Ezekiel. It wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be a disgusting thing. So I don't know, but they made this whole thing into some kind of health food. But anyway. So you eating the meals on Shabbos. That means you're fixing that which you did eating not kosher. Obviously it doesn't mean you're allowed to eat McDonald's all week, and as long as you eat cholent on Shabbos. It doesn't work that way. I remember I was at the Tish from the Kalavar Rebbe with a friend of mine, and there was a balabas there, and he said, as long as I eat the Shirayim Shabbos, I can do whatever I want all week. It doesn't really work that way. Now you did something wrong, you can do tshuva. You could always do tshuva. And part of the tshuva and the tikkun could be also, you go to the tzaddik, you go to the tish, and you can make a tikkun like that. It doesn't mean you're allowed to do whatever you want. It means it happened already. All right, you try to do tshuva, you come to Shabbos, you try to do tshuva. And in the week, maybe you fall again. Shabbos by Tashuv. Shabbos, you always come back. You always keep coming back. But the point is, with Shabbos, you make the tikkun for the previous week, especially with machalos asuros, especially with non-kosher food. And that means that now you're ready to be a prophet. If Mashiach will come, Eliyahu Navi is going to come with the Shabbos maybe, and Mashiach comes and you're ready because you're clean from Shabbos and you're ready to receive the prophecy. And the thing is, the fact of the matter is that the avodah of nevuah is not just, hearing the voice of God and telling the future. It's a certain devotion to God. And the truth is that God transcends time. So therefore, the truth is that in a certain sense, because you're going to be destined to be a prophet when Mashiach comes, the investment that you're making by eating the Shabbos foods, eating those 3 meals on Shabbos, in addition to the fact that the Gemara says someone eats the 3 meals on Shabbos will be saved from Chevli Mashiach, from Milchemes Gog and Magog. People are all worried about the wars of Gog and Magog, Milchemes Gog and Magog. And they're like, what will we do to be rescued? The Gemara says, you eat 3 meals on Shabbos, you'll be saved. It's not that hard. You eat Friday night a meal, Shabbos day, the lunch when you come back from shul, you eat shalosh shudas, You eat the 3 meals, you'll be saved from Chevli Mashiach. You'll be saved from Milchemes Gog and Magog. You'll be saved even from Gehinnom. You'll be saved from purgatory, from hell. Eat these 3 meals on Shabbos, and these are holy meals. You make Kiddush, you make a Moitzi, you bench when you're done, you sing Zmiris. And I would say also, the traditional foods, there's spirituality behind the traditional foods. Depends on the community you come from. I would say there's just as much spirituality in the Sephardic traditions as in Ashkenazic traditions. And to have kavanas when you're eating, think of different things. And Sheamus, tzaddikim, they would do things like, there's a shame that the holy name is a yud and a beis and a kuf, which is a combination of 2 other names, the gematrias of Zavayin Elokim, and so that comes to 132, right? Because 86 and 26, no. 86 plus 26 is 112. So Yud Beis Kuf is 112. So you find something that starts with a Yud, something starts with a Beis, something starts with a Kuf. So in Yiddish, there's different names for soup. One is Yoch. So Yoch is a Yud. And you might have beans in the soup. Bundelach, Beblach, Bundelach is Beis. You have a little challah, it's called koilich. It's a kuf. You bring them together. The yoch is the moisture of the soup or the cholent. So some people that have beans together with the soup, either in the soup or as a side dish with the soup, and you have a little bit of soup with the bean and the challah, and you put it in your mouth all together. You make a tikkun, make a yichud like that. And the same thing, the cholent in the morning, the bean from the cholent and the moisture, the roitiv from and a little piece of challah, or maybe kishka or something. You have in mind and the thing. What if you don't have a bean? So bright starts with base. So you have one piece of bread you have in mind that's bright. One piece of bread of challah you have in mind. It's the same challah, but you have one piece you have in mind bright, and one piece you have in mind koilich, and you have the yoch, the soup again. Or it could be, you could have the same idea with the yayin. You have 2 challahs. So one you have in mind bright, one you have in mind koilich, and then the yayin, and the kiddush. It's again, you can find these types of, and you can do the same thing in English or in Hebrew, in any language. Doesn't have to be Yiddish. It doesn't have to be Hebrew. You can have in mind certain things. I remember Rabbi Bar Tzadok said, you eat bread, you have in mind bered, that red means to come down. That as God is coming down to us as we're eating the bread, that He brings bread out of the earth, but He's coming down to us. That the English word bread can remind us of the Hebrew bered, that as God is coming down and the blessings of God are coming down to us, we can have these things in mind. And the same thing with different items of food, you can have in mind the different spheres. They say kugel is yisoid. I've heard, that specifically if you have, people have chicken legs, right? And so, or they call chicken bottoms, the thigh part of the chicken with the leg on it. It's netzach and hod. Different. So each part of the Suda, you can have in mind different spheres. But then, I remember I Shadlovtzer Rebbe, I was working as a gaba for him, and he mentioned this: the kugel is it's midas yisoid. I could kach with a lot of tzaddikim. They other foods they bedavka eat with the hands or make a sandwich or something, but the kugel they bedavka eat with a fork. Even though most people also Chap Shrine will eat kugel with the hands, but there's in Yonim different things like this. So. And then I asked him, I said, maybe we could figure out the spheres of each part of the Suda. And he was like, he told a story by a Baron Chernobyler. There was a Yid who came to him, and he was so far from Yiddishkeit, but he found in him that one time he was with his brother who was frum, and he ate something l'kavod Shabbos Kodesh. And the schus of that, he was able to make a tikkun for him. So you don't have to have all the kavanas. Just l'kavod Shabbos Kodesh is a genig. It's enough. But again, everyone lefi madregasim, everyone on their madrega, the kavanas you have in eating. And the same today's Yartzeh Reb Melech, he said stam during the week that a person should say ein ani yochel anas gufi chas v'shalom. I'm not eating for my own physical pleasure, right? But the reason I'm eating is so my body should be healthy and strong for his service, for his worship. May his name be blessed, to serve God. So I should be healthy and strong to serve God. Al Yaakov Shum Ched V'Oven V'Ra es Malus Netzaitis Kedusha Seiche Chilev Shtiyazais, that there should be no sin that we do should hold back the fact that while we're eating, even during the week, we're doing things that we should get energy to serve God. So the act of eating, and we make a bracha before, make a bracha after, these actions are devotions to God. Just the things we do every day. You eat and you sleep and you go to the bathroom and whatever you do it as a devotion to God. Meaning you go to the bathroom to remove the waste from your body. The Rebbe Melech talks about that too, how dangerous it is. Even I remember it was a holistic doctor said to me, he said you can have problems with your brain if you hold in going to the bathroom. And because if it could little small particles can get in your bloodstream, and when they go through the bloodstream, they go to the brain also. And then your brain is being poisoned if you don't go to the bathroom enough. Rebbe Melech says the exact same thing. As soon as you feel like you have to go to the bathroom, don't hold it in. It's the first bathroom you find. You go to the bathroom right away, because you can. If you don't, you can. He says you can contaminate your brain, and your brain is attached to the supernal spiritual brain, and therefore it could also contaminate the spiritual levels of the brain. And so therefore the Rebbe Melech says how important it is, so that this action of removing waste from the body is a devotion to God, removing that which is impure. So and the same thing when you're eating, you're removing the holy sparks that are in the food and separating them from the things that are impure. And the same thing, the Rebbe Melech says in Setel Katan, you should picture the word machal means food. And he said you should picture Ksav Shuris. You should meditate on this when you're eating, and have in mind that that's the Gematria 91, which is Havaya Nadnus. Havaya, the name of God 26, the way it's written and the way it's pronounced is what is it? That's 50. It's 65, right? Atna is Aleph Dalid is 5. Nun Yud 60. Yeah, 65. So 65 plus 26 is 91. And so this types of things. So that's, of course, we should be able to make all kinds of tikkunim and be zeicha to see that day when we are, like the prophet Joel says, that we are engaged in prophecy. The tikkun that we make of eating fish, big tikkun, a lot of things, everything, the eggs and onions, and the pacha, the galareta, the cholent, the kugel, the farfel, everything's a tikkun. Everything's a big tikkun that we have to make. So let's make our tikkunim and eat on Shabbos and do mitzvahs and be el chiyidin. You know, and if you don't have in mind kavanas and you don't have in mind nevuah, it's still a big thing. That's what we said earlier. You know, you think you're doing nothing. You went to shul, you listen to Parshas Parah. What's the big deal? It is a big deal, even without all the kavanas, even without all the meditation. It's a very big deal. So we should be zoiche to taka have the what the Navi Cheskel says in this week's Haftarah from Parshas Parah. V'zrakti aleichem mayim taharim atartim mikol v'seichem mikol galeichem atahareschem. It'll be sprinkled on you pure waters. You'll be purified from all of your impurities and all your abominations. You'll be purified. We should all be worthy to purity and the holiness, and to the Ruach HaKodesh and Tchias HaMesim and all of these things that are promised to us. And we have to believe that all these things are possible, because by God, everything's possible. All right. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. All the best. We'll see you later.